Happy New Year. If you haven't said that to somebody, you need to say it right now. Happy New Year, everyone. Yeah. I'm so stoked. My name is Dave Safstrom. I am really excited to get to be with y'all here on New Year's. I'm the Church Online campus pastor, just started into that recently, been on staff for nearly 10 years now. Actually, this is who I spend New Year's with, is my family. My wife, Lori, we've been married 15 years. My son, Judah, I have a 13-year-old now. He's standing almost as tall as me. He loves that I'm saying that. He's just about as tall as me. My son, Reeve, is in the front holding our dog, Scout. And then our dog, Javi, couldn't make the picture for this year. But man, I'm so excited to get to spend New Year's, literally New Year's with you. My first time teaching here on this stage, and I've been thinking and praying about this for months because unlike Times Square, I don't want to drop this ball. I don't want to make that mistake. But growing up, we would watch the ball drop. I didn't even watch it last night. I had to go to bed. I had to get ready for here and now. My mom would make this Mexican dip that I loved. I would devour it, kind of craving that even now. Now we spend New Year's with friends. We got to spend it yesterday with friends. A couple of years ago, we had New Year's at our house with some friends. They came over, and I noticed that one of their sons, he was like 4 or 5 at the time, he kept going back and getting more olives. It was like this, I'd never seen a kid love olives as much. He was going for some record, like he was finishing a New Year's resolution. It's like 10 minutes before the ball's about to drop, we're filling glasses, getting excited to ring in the new year, and my friend picks up her son, and he lets out all the olives all over mommy, all over the floor. I will never forget that New Year's in my life. The holidays are great. But do you notice, as I'm seeing, how everything is just flying by a lot faster? Life just keeps rolling along, like literally a lot of us going back to work tomorrow. Our kids are on break, whatever. But I'm seeing how much more effort it takes just to enjoy these seasons of life. Never mind how much energy it takes just to grow in life. And that's why I'm realizing some of the traditions in life actually matter, that they're helpful. Some of our friends, they have this tradition on their anniversary. We've taken this up to do it as well, where they look back over the last year. Hey, how did it go? What did we want to go after? How did it work? What didn't go the way we hoped? And how can we be more purposeful in the new year? That's their anniversary tradition. And I'm like, that's a pretty good New Year's tradition. When you think about it, look back over the year, make some adjustments, kind of let go of bad habits and try to take on new possibilities in the new year. But what's the New Year tradition that we do? The turn of the year, the New Year's resolutions, right? And if I were to ask you, raise your hand, how many are doing resolutions? Some of you might raise your hand, and some of you are like, I don't want to commit to that. Like I'm thinking about it, but I don't want to raise my hand to commit to it yet because I don't want to screw it up. But I want to see new goals and possibilities in the new year. Like that's a desire for me. But can we be honest about something about New Year's resolutions just for a minute, as far as goals are concerned? The timing of New Year's is terrible, in my opinion. Hear me out. New year, turning the page, new possibilities in the dead of winter. You see what I'm saying? At least for us in the colder climates, the northern hemisphere, the earth is literally dead and asleep. There are animals that are sleeping and they are hibernating, and we're like, you know what? I want to get up at 5 a.m., start a new workout routine. I'm going to drive through the cold. I'm going to eat lean, non-comfort foods. I'm going to wear my thick pants and coat. No one will see my progress. It's my favorite. Let's go after something new. When the world is dead and asleep, it doesn't make any sense. So I say, New Year's resolution, let's take some ground right now, if you're with me. This is where I will ask you for a show of hands. How many of you support the moving of New Year's Day to May 1st when the earth is actually alive? Thank you. Somebody text the president, the UN Secretary General, and Ryan Seacrest, just to let them know we're making progress today. That's what we need to do. Thank you. Glad you guys came. But I'm not really all that concerned. It's not about resolutions necessarily, although I seriously contend that we have a legit timing issue. But here's what I am concerned about. As I'm getting older and as life just keeps rolling along, I'm realizing my internal desire to grow and to live on purpose, because life just keeps rolling along and it takes more effort to be intentional, is at stake. I want to become more the person that God wants me to become, live the life that God has placed within me to live, and yet it's easy to just keep rolling along. As I get older, and maybe you see this too, I'm seeing that it is way more challenging than I originally would have thought. Let me ask this question. Shouldn't we be getting better with age? But shouldn't we? At least living more on purpose with more purpose, like not so emotionally reactionary to life. How similar are you, think about this is a hard one for me to answer too. How similar are you to the person you were, say, 5 years ago? And hopefully in the good ways, stay all the good ways and get better at them, but are you healthier? Are you more disciplined? Are you more intentional with your money? Are you and your closest friends helping each other become the type of person that you want to become? If you have kids, are you more intentional with your time with your kids? Or, like, is the struggle for all of us, are we compromising our values and settling for easier and rolling along day by day because life kind of invites us into the drone of day by day? That's what I'm seeing, how easy it is just to settle. But I want to get better. I'm turning 40 in about a month, and some of you are like, oh, he's having a midlife crisis on stage. That's why you're talking about all this. No, but I really do want to make the most of this one life that I've been given. And I want to make of it legitimately in God's eyes, discovering what he intended and living with his values to guide me, not just my appetites and emotions, which can fly all over the place. So that's why today, here on New Year's Day, that's why I'm here. I think our deepest desires are still in there, but they're getting beat up or lost to apathy, settling, just the everyday drone of life. But I think we need to reclaim it. I think we need to reclaim the moment to set a better tradition in place that helps us reset our hearts and our minds at this turn of the new year, like my friends on their anniversary. Today, what I want to invite you to do, we're going to look back, let go of what's not been helpful, and reclaim some focus and some new mentality for the new year. I want to help you. Maybe because you're not into resolutions or they've beaten you up in the past, you've gotten kind of jaded to them. I want to help you believe in new beginnings again. That new possibility should be on the horizon for us. It's not just the same old day after day, year after year. And if you're a follower of Jesus, like for all of us, we should believe in new possibility. We see life renews itself. In April and May, the earth comes back to life. But especially true for people who are followers of Jesus. This guy named Paul, whose life was radically changed by Jesus, he says this in 2 Corinthians 5. He says, anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone, a new life has begun. And it's all throughout the Bible. It's not just Paul. Like Paul, this is brilliant and it's true. Anyone following Jesus, but all throughout the Bible, there are people whose lives, something new happens and God invites them into it. It's not just meant to be the drone. You may have heard of Abraham. Abraham, way back in the book of Genesis, God says to Abraham, leave the land of your father. I'm gonna take you to a new land. I wanna do something big through you that you don't even know is possible. He has to leave that and go. Jonah, you may have heard of Jonah, the story. Jonah, stop running from what I've asked you to do. God is saying, stop running. Like he runs, he goes to another place, gets on a boat. Stop, get off the boat, get out of the fish, go back to the city that I told you to go to because I wanna do something there and I wanna do it through you. I wanna do something new. David, you may have heard of David and Goliath. David was a shepherd boy. He was actually one of the kind of frustrating younger brothers to some of his older siblings. And yet God says to David from an early age, I'm doing something new and powerful through you. Nehemiah is this prophet who gets captured and taken into a foreign land, but God brings him back and says, Nehemiah, I want to rebuild the walls of this city. I want to do something new and I want to do it through you. Peter, you may have heard of Peter. Peter's one of Jesus' closest followers. He was a fisherman, but he was kind of terrible at it too. And Jesus says, no, I want to do something new through you, and it has to do with people and not your trade. And then, of course, Mary, celebrated last week, that God says to Mary, I want to do something through you for all the world, and brings Jesus. And with every single one of these characters, every single one of these people in history, they had to leave something behind in order to take on something new, even maybe an old land or an old mentality or both. So today I say, let's do this. I say a new tradition right now, a new way to look at the new year. And don't just like, it's New Year's Day. Could you go a little easier on it? Go back to talking about that kid in the olives. That was funny. No, let's lean into this one and look back and actually apply in our lives. What do we need to let go of? What's not been working in the last year? And we're gonna look ahead at how to take on new possibility and new truth. So here's what we're gonna do. You may wanna write this down, put it in your phone. They could be simple things, but sometimes the simplest are the most profound. We're gonna start this way. The 3 lies that kill new beginnings. We're gonna talk about things that may have been stuck in your heart and your mind in the past and how we need to let go of those to take on new truth. And some of these have been lies that I've held on to for years. And some of them, to be honest, it's personal. And some of them even for somebody I love dearly who's been drowning in some of these for years, and maybe it's gonna be true for you. But yeah, so it's personal, but it matters. I wanna dive right in. We're gonna go to lie number 1 that may have been true for you in the last year, and it's the lie of perfection. Lie number 1 is the lie of perfection. The lie of perfection simply says this, you know this, start everything just right. Start everything perfectly. You're gonna start a new workout routine, I gotta get the right shoes. Certainly gotta get that breathable t-shirt, that's made of that sweat wicking, material. I've gotta have the right pants. I've gotta have the right equipment. I've gotta have the right atmosphere. You gotta have it all just right, the right plan, everything mapped out before you even make any progress. This is how you're gonna get started. Perfect, now I'm ready. Jim Gaffigan is one of my favorite comedians. And he has this great bit where he talks about this, like people making new goals. And he says, I'm gonna work out every day, And so you make this big new goal and you go work out and you get real sore. And then the next day you're like, well, not every day. I gotta let my muscles breathe a little. And then about 2 days later, you're like, I'm fine with the way I look. I'm not even gonna, I love it. That's like his whole bit. My brother, a couple of years ago, we were talking about New Year's resolutions. And he made a list. We were talking about what we were gonna do coming to New Year. He made a list. It was like 20 items on his list he wanted to change. And I was like, hey, how about 2? Let's try just 2. But the lie of perfection, it sneaks into our thinking and convinces us that we have to have a big, perfect plan. If you're gonna start something new, whatever the new is, everything has to be just right and in order to make any progress. Do you know what I'm talking about? Some of you have done this. Have you ever heard this lie sneaking into your mind? But it's not just perfection at the start of new things. The lie goes deeper. The lie of perfection actually whispers to us once we get started, never fail. Don't trip, don't stumble. You have to keep this going perfectly, incessantly. John Acuff is this writer. He wrote a lot of great books. One of them is called Finish. I've read it 2 or 3 times. It's all about goals and achievement. It's a great book. And he asked the question, when do people most often quit on their new goal? They've set out to go after new things. When do they most often quit on a new goal? And you might think February, like people are done with their new resolutions by February or tomorrow, whatever it is. But here's what he found. I thought it was so profound. He said, he found that people most often quit on a new goal the day after perfect. The day after perfect. The day after the workout left you sore and you didn't want to do it again. The day after it didn't go the way you wanted. The day after you ate what you shouldn't, cheated on that meal plan, and you decided, well, I already cheated, I might as well give up. The day after you were doing that new thing, trying that new thing, it felt awkward and clunky and uncomfortable, and you decided this isn't for me. The day after it didn't go to plan. And this lie whispers to us. Does any of it sound familiar? How many of us, how many new beginnings in the last year or two for you have been killed because the lie of perfection was sneaking in and trying to steal your progress? It tells us that anything new that we want to work on, it's got to start perfect and it's got to go perfect exactly to plan, never fail, or what's the point? And the sad thing is, the lie of perfection that sneaks in and steals from us, it can also lead to this second lie, and yet this second lie can stand all by itself. And I'm just gonna call it this, it's the easy lie. Lie number 2 is the easy lie. And it's simply this, it's that life or this new goal I'm going after is supposed to be easy. Now, quick disclaimer, for my friends in this space or who are listening, and people that I know that legitimately have challenging things you're dealing with in life. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about you in this situation. My family members that are dealing with Parkinson's and leukemia, mental health struggles, parents who have a child with special needs, or a single parent who's hustling just to make ends meet, or you're new to the area, you're just trying to get your feet on the ground and get a job, whatever. I'm not talking to y'all. But the easy lie is real. And it lures us into this mentality sometimes. I did get lured into this when I was young, and I still do at times. You may not say it out loud that you expect life to be easy, but we can easily fall into this mentality. Here's what I mean. When we think that a challenge or life is supposed to be easy, then when it requires more of us and is challenging, it's really difficult and painful and challenging. And we're wondering, why is this so tough? I want less tough, more easy. You might be falling for the easy lie if you're annoyed at work with coworkers or processes or whatever, and you just keep drowning it out with scrolling. This is way easier. I don't want to deal with this. I'm so sick of that. This is easier. Scroll, avoid, distraction. You keep avoiding challenging conversations. Maybe in the last year you fell to this. You're avoiding challenging conversations because they're challenging. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to talk to them. That might be awkward. I don't like confrontation. I want less tough, more easy. My single friends, I've worked with singles for like 10 years here. You ghost that guy or girl you're dating because you don't want to tell them you're not interested. Ghosting is a real thing. I don't want to talk to them about, like, that could be awkward and challenging. I want less tough, more easy. Or maybe you're annoyed at home with the kids or with what's going on. I want less tough, more easy. Entertainment is easier. Complaining is easier. It's way easier to be negative. Does any of this sound familiar? But the danger of the easy lie goes deeper, is what I've found in my life. If you follow this mentality, I don't want to deal with this is tough, I want more easy, then you're really following the mindset that life is about my pleasure and my comfort, and it lures us into this assumption. You just look around you at how often you're invited just to kick back and relax and just, this is good, this should be for you. We were in South Carolina for Thanksgiving. And we went down there, it was a great time. I saw this billboard, I don't think I've ever seen this before, and it simply said this, you track with me, it said, life is short, get a divorce. I don't wanna deal with this, I've got less time, more easy. And I get there may be situations where it's toxic and difficult, but life is short, that's your pitch? But you look all around you, watch this, buy that, go there, all of it enticing me to believe that I deserve more entertainment, more pleasure, more comfort, more easy. And I get lured back into it sometimes. How many of you in the last year that you've lost that desire, you were going after something that you believed was better, but easier was easier, so we settled for easier? How many of us lost our appetite to grow and to pursue new things, our drive to be more patient and gracious with people? But impatient is easier. It's our natural trend. How many parents lost their desire or that drive to be more invested and intentional with their kids because it required more energy, and entertainment is way easier. I'd rather do this than that. I would ask this question, are you settling for easier? Less effort. Pleasure is the point. Because the easy lie tells us that life shouldn't be so challenging. It should be all about our pleasure, and it's lied to us from all over the place. But it's a lie, and it's stealing from us, our intentionality and our purpose. And then the third lie. This one's really personal for me, has been for years, and drowned in it years ago, and still comes back to sneak, and I'll just call it this, it's the lie of inadequacy. And this isn't an exhaustive list, but here's the third one, it's the lie of inadequacy, and another way to say it is really this, I'm not enough. The lie that sneaks in and says, I'm not enough, I fell for this for you. I fell for this while I was preparing to come up here and to do this. Who are you? You don't have what it takes. I'm not enough. How many of us in the last year? There's this writer, her name's Carol Dweck. She wrote a book called The Growth Mindset. Brilliant book. I wish I read it 20 years ago and applied it in my life. I just didn't. But she outlines these crippling thought patterns that I dealt with for so many years that we can get stuck in that are this lie sneaking into our hearts and minds. It might go like this. I can't do it just right. Therefore, I must not be all that good at it. So why bother? I'm stuck. This is who I am. This is who I'm going to be. It's that lie of inadequacy. I don't have what it takes. If it's challenging and I do stumble, then I must not be good enough. It must not be my thing. I should give up. How many new things have died to the lie of inadequacy? I shouldn't try for what requires more than I could achieve without little effort or without failure. This should be easy. You see how perfect and easy get mixed into this lie. And these lies, if you were to step back and look at these, the lie of perfection, the lie of it's supposed to be easy, pleasure, like that's the point, my comfort, and the lie that I'm not enough. If you step back and look at these, if you added up all the mental space that these lies took up in your mind just in the last year, how many new beginnings or goals did they kill? Or if your smartphone, you know how our smartphones, they track our steps and they can track, our watches can track all that stuff. What if your smartphone were to alert you every time it's like, hey, live perfection, you fell to that yesterday, how'd you feel? You know, like your smartphone is helping you see how bad you're doing, or hey, yesterday, you know, when you gave into that easy lie, it would probably make you'd probably throw your phone in the toilet on purpose. It would probably make you sick. But they're lies that sneak in and steal our purpose and our intentionality. What if this year, for the sake of a new mindset, a new outlook, and the chance at new beginnings, what if we went after and we said, I'm gonna get rid of these and replace them with something better? Because some of us, maybe not everybody in the room, but some of us are struggling and falling to those. And this is the question I would ask, and you probably never thought of it this way. I never did until I was preparing for this. What if this year you lost 20 pounds of mental baggage? What if that was your goal? What if our goal was to try to say, God, I want to see new beginnings and new possibilities that you want for me, and I know they're being weighed down by mental baggage. I want to drop 20 pounds of mental baggage this year. That's a resolution I can get behind. A resolution set on freeing your mind, taking back ground in your heart. Because you know where the lies have led you. Some of you, like we've reviewed those last three, and you're like, that stings a little bit. But what if we drop the mental baggage and stop picking it back up? Proverbs 26:11 says this. It's just brilliant for every day. As a dog returns to its vomit, so a fool repeats his foolishness. And some of you are like, what is this with this guy and vomit? This is the second time. I promise that's the last time. I'm not bringing it up anymore. But the whole idea, the writer is saying in wisdom, like, why would we go back to what we know is not working? We need to stop listening to the foolishness of easy or perfect or I'm not enough and start with new truths in mind to replace them. So I say, let's turn the corner. We've looked back for a little bit. Now let's replace it and look ahead with a new mindset. And here's what I'm gonna call them. I'm gonna call them 3 truths for mental weight loss. But I'm serious. I think that if we were to apply these and keep them in front of us, what could it do in our hearts and minds? Truth number 1. Lie number 1 is the lie of perfection. Truth number 1 is this. Perfection is actually the enemy of progress. It's your enemy. And I learned this from John Acuff in his book, Finished, but it's that lie that you should have everything just right before you start or never make a mistake once you've begun. And that's how we stick to goals. That's not working for any of us. Because once you falter, what happens? But we need to stop going back to the lie that perfection is dictating our progress. And I'll say it this way, let's just put it differently. Perfection is our enemy and progress is the point. And you're like, this is so simple. I already knew that. Yeah, but how often do we fall and we go, well, I might as well give up. Maybe you say it this way. This is what it might sound like. It was an ugly run. Yeah, but you ran. You made progress. You showed up. You were investing in your health. The workout, and it was so tough. I felt awkward. I didn't know some of the moves. Like, I'm kind of, yeah, but you're working out. You're investing in your life and your health. Everybody's got to start somewhere. That's progress. Maybe you're wanting to pray more. We were talking about this backstage. Maybe you're wanting to pray more or read the Bible more. We call it around LCBC, sometimes we call it our chair time, having time with Jesus in the morning. But you miss a day, and then you miss another day, and you're tempted to just give up. The live perfection is sneaking in, saying, see, you missed again. Yeah, but you started. You made progress. You invested in your relationship with your Heavenly Father. Maybe you're trying to treat people better, like your natural tendency, and maybe in dating or in friendships, is you talk about yourself a lot, and you're like, no, I wanna ask more about you, take more of an interest in you, but you feel clunky and abnormal, you don't know what to talk about, and you keep resorting to going back to yourself. Yeah, but you took the steps to start caring more about others and taking an interest in them than in just yourself. Why would we let perfection dictate our progress? If perfection were the true measuring stick, then we would all be done before we even got started. We can't keep everything perfectly. So for the first lie and the first truth, this year, let's make progress toward the person we want to be. Perfection is the enemy. My friend Tim Moser, he just says it this way. He says, failure is not fatal. It's not the end. It's just you're learning your way forward. So every time the lie of perfection comes calling, my encouragement, call it out. Perfection's the enemy. I'm making progress. That's the point. Now, lie number 2 is the easy lie. The truth, lie number 2 is like the lie that life is supposed to be easy. The truth is this: life is actually asking something of me. I love this. It's asking something of you and me. It's asking us, are you gonna step up in this area because we need you to? You know, people who think, and I struggled with this for so long, people who think that life is supposed to be easy, we often buckle under the pressure of just how hard it is because we were expecting this to be easier. But Jesus himself said it. He said, in this life, you will have trouble. He said, this isn't gonna be easy. It's not meant to be. But I wanna suggest a way of thinking about this for a second. Some of you are like, I'm good with this one. Yeah, well, this isn't for you. Focus here if you need this. Listen, maybe you're struggling with how hard things are because you're thinking about how hard things are too often. Let me say that again. Maybe we're struggling with how difficult life is because we think about how challenging the everyday things are way too often. Have you ever thought about that? How much you think about the problem or the struggle? It's like we're shadow boxing with life. Can't this just be easier? Why is this so exhausting? I exhaust myself with a fight against everyday things that are not really all that challenging, and they're keeping me distracted from the more important fights and the real fights worth getting in on. Some of us know what I'm talking about. So you're tempted. I'm not gonna ghost them or avoid them. I'm gonna be kind, I'm gonna be clear, it's gonna be challenging, but I wanna talk to them. I'm gonna bring this up, I'm gonna open it up. I'd rather scroll or veg out or binge, but my son needs me to show up, I'm gonna show up. My neighbor or my coworker needs me to show kindness, I'm gonna show up. My spouse needs me to show some self-sacrificial love, I'm gonna show up. We were on our way to a trip, Airbnb teepee, like weekend camping trip. We were so excited. It was back in the spring. And we're on our way, we're cruising at 70 miles an hour on the highway, and then I'm the SUV on the highway. That smoke starts coming out from under the hood. That was us. Maybe you passed us, and you were like, those poor guys. That was the first time it ever happened. I hope it's the last time. We pull off immediately. Our excitement gets brought to a screeching halt, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I lift the hood because I got to let her breathe a little, clearly. It was bad. And my poor son, my 11-year-old, he's just like so excited to get there, and all of a sudden, boom, we're not going. It's obvious. And he's losing it. He's on the side. He's just like, life is conspiring against us. Like, what is going on? And honestly, I wanted to lose it too. But my son needed me to show him how to handle life's challenges with grace peace in the storm, I wanted to step up. Remember, Jesus said, in this life you will have trouble. And his half-brother James picked up on it. Here's what James said in James 1. He said, when troubles come your way, what does he say? Consider it an opportunity for great joy. He gets it way better than I get it. That life is asking something of us. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. And then he goes on. He says, so let it grow. Go after it. For when your endurance is fully developed, this is like any athlete would know this, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. James is saying life is asking something of us. God's giving us the opportunity to grow. And when we own the fact that life is challenging, asking something of us, then when it meets our expectations and we're not so overwhelmed by the frustration and the challenge that it brings. Because everyday challenges are not meant to push us down to easy. They are meant to develop our strength. And then the last truth. The first truth and lie is about perfection and then easy. The last truth is this. You are not meant to do this alone. The lie is that you're inadequate. The lie that sneaks into some of our minds is I don't have what it takes. But the truth is we were never meant to go it alone. Jesus said, in this world you will have trouble. But he finishes by saying this, but take heart because I, Jesus, have overcome the world. It's not all on you. And he's trying to say, I want to be your life and your hope and your peace. He says as much. Actually, right before he says this whole part, he says, I have told you all of this so that you may have peace in me. Humanity was always meant to walk with God daily, to be close to him, to have regular conversations with him. It's called prayer, that help keep our life in proper perspective and power and grace coming from and through him. Peter is one of these followers of Jesus. He loved Jesus, and you may have heard this story before. Jesus is walking on the water. Peter and the other disciples are in a boat, and he sees Jesus walking, and Jesus calls him out and says, come out and walk, come to me. Peter jumps out, and he is defying gravity. He's defying the laws of physics. He's living in a power unlike any other he ever had before. But then what happens? Peter takes his eyes off Jesus, and he begins to sink. Have you been taking your eyes off Jesus in the last year? Maybe ever, always. Have you been going it alone and wondering, why is this so challenging? Jesus, it tells us in the book of Philippians chapter 2 and elsewhere that he set aside his throne and came to earth to be with us. Actually, last week, Christmas, we celebrate that the God of the universe came to be with us. He considered us as more important than himself and his comfort. Have you lost sight of Jesus' sacrificial love? Have you been serving yourself and your desires? Maybe that's the struggle. Jesus prayed regularly. Jesus, the Son of God, prayed regularly, bringing his desires and his concerns to his heavenly Father. Have we been bringing our cares and concerns to our heavenly Father? Or have we been going it alone? We are not meant to do this alone. The lie of inadequacy, in some ways is kind of true, but we were never meant to think it was all about ourselves, for ourselves, on our own power. Maybe you just need this one verse. This is the one I keep on my desk. I need it. Here's a picture. It says, it's Isaiah 26. It says, you keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you because he trusts in you. My value comes from you. My peace comes from you. Your new life and hope is meant to come from and through him. It's not all on you. So step back for a second. We stepped back earlier. Step back and look at these. What if the truth is replaced? Life is asking something of me. The next one, progress is the point. Perfection isn't gonna get its lie in my heart any longer and stop me. And then finally, I'm not meant to go it alone. Jesus is my hope and my peace. For some of you that are struggling with one, two, or all of these, imagine, build your new year around this and don't let the lie sneak in one more time. Imagine if you put that on your desk, if you put that on your mirror, on your dashboard. Imagine how your days will feel if perfection doesn't get to lie to you any longer and tell you might as well give up. If easy doesn't lie to you and tell you this is too hard, why would you even keep trying? And you fall to that inadequacy feeling and lie, and you say, no, Jesus is my hope. What happens? How do your days feel if you start dropping 20 pounds of mental baggage this year by taking on those truths and taking back ground from old lies? We know this, but we have to remind ourselves the truth will set you free if you apply it. So you know that old song we sing? We sang it probably last night. It's a New Year's song. It's, should old acquaintance be forgot, and never brought to mind. And that's like the only lyric we know, and I don't know what else to sing. I can think of a few old acquaintances and friends that need to be left behind for good. A few lies that should never be brought back to mind one more time. I think this year, drop the mental baggage, say goodbye to the old acquaintance, the liar that perfection is, the liar that failure is fatal, that easy is the point and pleasure, and I need to give in and fall under that, or that I'm supposed to do this life alone. Say goodbye to that lie. I think it's time here on the new year to wake up to new possibility. Saying hello to a new mentality for a new year, a new daily practice with those truths in our minds, because new hope is on the horizon. I firmly believe that God wants us to turn old lies into new possibilities.